This is John Sullivan from Sullivan's Projects, and welcome to Arizona, and welcome to my 2017 Space Fest special. And this is actually up on Carr Canyon in Cochise County. Just another wonderful place to visit if you're down here for a couple more days. Come on out to Cochise County. It's just a wonderful place. You can see the sun coming up here on a beautiful Wednesday morning, right after Memorial Day. And it's really going to be a really nice day today. Traditionally speaking, it's usually pretty hot, and sometimes there's some fires going on around Space Fest, but it looks pretty good this year actually. So come on down and enjoy it. Special shout out to everybody in the media. I'd like to take some time in part one of this series to introduce what is going to happen as far as the schedule. And so we're going to be spending some time today doing that. In the meantime, enjoy this wonderful sunrise here in wonderful Cochise County. I'm on Carr Canyon, and the city you see below there is South Sierra Vista, Hereford, Palominas. So a lot of really great places around here. You can see over here is actually the border to Mexico, and that mountain you see in the center there is actually in Mexico. This is actually the border area between the United States and Mexico. So enjoy the view. You can tell out here there's also a lot of wonderful trails, which I happen to be on one right now. Really kind of a beautiful sky today. I like it a lot better when it's completely clear. We have some of the best stargazing here, and here's a couple shots of what I took last week. Almost without exception, up here in these trails, you're going to see deer, birds of all kinds. This is a major migratory route, and you can also see what a wonderful county this is over here. It's just one county over from Pima County, which is where Space Fest is. This Carr Canyon is actually a road. Comes up from Sierra Vista, and the county really did a lot of great work on it over the weekend, so it's in pretty good shape actually. Not recommended for trailers or any kind of large vehicles, certainly no RVs. I've seen Border Patrol get some pretty big stuff up here though, but that's pretty much what the road is. And from here, I'm only a third of the way up Carr Canyon. I'm going to show you how far I am over Sierra Vista here in a second. This very famous falls here, and you can hear the birds and everything. There's a place when you get to the top where you can actually look down and see all this. So I'm only a third of the way up, but it's still very beautiful. Here's a good place to stop and tell you where we're going to be doing the event this year, and some of the people that we already expect to be there. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my lovely hometown of Sierra Vista. If you're coming out of the Star Pass Resort west of Tucson, what's going to happen is you're going to get on the I-10 and come out to Benson. It's about a good hour, but another half an hour to get down here to Sierra Vista. And to where I am right now, it's about another half an hour out of Sierra Vista. Now, ladies and gentlemen, is Fort Huachuca, very famous Army post. A lot of people are employed there. I would love to get a job there, actually. And there's the morning view of Sierra Vista, Arizona. One of the best things about being up here is it's a great place to film almost anything you want. Most days, no contrails, very few power lines or anything like that, so you can make anything. Matter of fact, I've made 4 movies. I'm working on my 4th right now. It's being filmed right here in Cochise County. So, what a wonderful place this is. Speaking of which, one of my goals this year before I had to take off of work was to sponsor Spacefest this year. If you do come, or if you're interested, contact the webpage or the people running the event when you get there and find out how to advertise. I quoted the price last year, very sensible, very, very reasonable to advertise for Spacefest. So it's spacefest.info, I-N-F-O, Spacefest, just like it sounds, .info. And my first one was right when I first got here. It was Spacefest VIII, and that was a great time. Met a lot of really cool astronauts there. Spacefest V, that was also here. Met even more astronauts, and I actually did my first special like the one you're watching now then. And then Spacefest VI went out to Pasadena. I had to miss that one. Spacefest VII last year was really, really great. And by the look of things, Spacefest VIII is going to be the very best of all. Now, what I'm going to do now is introduce you to some of the astronauts and other people who are going to be here. But first of all, I just talked to Robert Brand. He's the Australia's premier space expert. I think if he had any stomach for government, he would be a great version of their NASA administrator. And I don't know if you just saw the rocket launch that went up in New Zealand, but really wonderful place down there for private space launches as well. So a lot of advantages to being down there as far as what kind of orbits you can reach. They can't quite hit the 28.5 like they can out of Kennedy, but they can certainly hit polar or anything like that from that latitude down that way. And plus the night sky down there, I remember being in Australia just stunned. What kind of, because you see a whole part of different part of the sky down there. You can see, you know, the Acrux and Alpha Centauri and all that stuff down there. You can also see really cool nebulas and the Southern Cross and everything. But the whole constellations are all way different down there, and the density of the Milky Way appears to be a lot more than it is up here in the northern hemisphere. So we're kind of missing out up here. But they say the same thing when they get up here and see our wonderful stars up here. So if you can get down there to Australia, look up Robert Brand. He's a really great guy. And when I talked to him this morning, he said he's not going to be able to make it a scheduled date. He will make it. He's going to go to an event with NASA on his way over here. So he doesn't know how long that's going to take, but he does plan on being here. So TBA on when he's going to have his speech. His presentations are really good. He's very creative in PowerPoint presentations and videos, and really a smart guy. And he's just one of the most knowledgeable people I know in the space business. And he has he's got the golden Rolodex, so he knows all the astronauts' cell numbers and stuff. And he's always keeping in touch with them as well. So he's well connected, and he has a automatic Twitter feed that's really good called Robert Brand Space News. It's really good, so check that out as well. Also, he does a really good job on Facebook as well, both in automated post and manual post. So he's got it all figured out how to do that. So if something's happening, he'll have it on his website and his Facebook page. Also very pleased this year to meet Dr. Alan Stern for the first time. I think Dr. Alan Stern is probably one of the greatest men alive. This will be the first time I've seen him, but let me tell you about the first time I saw his work. I was in Florida on a very cold January morning in 2006, and I've seen a lot of launches. I've seen 38 space shuttle launches, plus all the great ones you see out of back in the day. It was called Lockheed Martin. Now it's called United Launch Alliance. I saw a couple of those SpaceXs, whatever. but this one launch in particular was an Atlas V rocket that you saw it go up the horizon so quickly. It looked like a bottle rocket. I just couldn't believe how fast. You see the little rockets about that tall that kids go with, and they light them up and they go. Well, that's what this thing looked like. Well, what it was the fastest departure from Earth ever for any kind of spacecraft, and it still took 9 years to get close to the planet Pluto and the sister moons such as Charon, Nix, and all the others. And in January 2019, I think that thing's going to be out there at the very end of the solar system in the Kuiper Belt, and they've already turned the craft for a close encounter. Not as close as it was with Pluto, but it's going to be the first really good close encounter with a CBO, is what they call a Kuiper Belt object. And they've already have a name for this thing already. Subject could change. The PT-1, I think, is what they're going to end up settling with, but just for news purposes. But I really do have a lot of excitement for this thing, and I just can't believe something that took off that fast, took that long, at the fastest speed possible to get out to the outer solar system. So by 2019, that would have been 13 years in space, going all the way out. And as a matter of fact, I was so impressed for my new movie / book, which is already out, called The Viking Club, Liberty 72. You can always find that on Amazon. Liberty 72, just like it sounds. Liberty, the number 7, the number 2. All 4 books went out in about 2 months. The first 3 were actually from earlier movies and scripting and treatments and books that we did back between 1996 and 2003. But we put all those back out again as new books. So you have Liberty 72, When Battleships Fly, Liberty 72, Endless Wonder. Between those two, Liberty 72, Hidden Treasures, which was always my favorite until now. This new one, Liberty 72, The Viking Club, is my favorite. And I actually have to include the New Horizons probe as part of this story, because in the year 3550, I still believe it has a chance. And one of the people that interviewed me last week about my latest book asked, why is it that you put so much time between these stories? You have this ship that is about like 900 years old by the time you finally close it all down in the last book and movie project. And the reason is, I can't afford to rehire these people after I hire them once, or I can't find them. So I just start with a new crew every time. So it's kind of like, I've never seen Doctor Who, but I guess they have different actors all the time on this show, on that one. So it's kind of like that. So I had one character who was through all 4, beyond Dr. Stern, who was mentioned in all 4. There was one character that went all the way through all 4, and it was an alien named Fiona Seacombe, and she lasted like 1,600 years before she also dies in this last movie. But the reason I always had different people in the Mission Control Center or running the ship was because that was just a way I could afford to get the new actors in, especially if I couldn't find the other ones. So anyways, let me take you right now through a brief summary of some of the people that are going to be here and what they've accomplished. And I really hope the news can get down here and interview these astronauts, because they're always a lot of fun. You just would not believe how accessible and friendly and chatty they are. And Charlie Walker's my favorite chatter. I mean, him and Vance Brand can really tell you some really good stories. But Charlie just makes me laugh every time I talk to him, because he's such a nice guy, and one of my favorite shuttle astronauts. And also very much looking forward to seeing our old friend from Clearwater, Florida. Her name is Nicole Stott, and she's actually a very famous astronaut who went up on 128 and came down on 129 and went back up and down on 133 to retire the Space Shuttle Discovery. And what's special about her is NASA had never before put somebody up there with that kind of trust, because normally they'd send them up on a shuttle for a couple weeks, see how they are in space, make sure they're not going to be seasick or crazy, and they'll bring them back down, and if everything checks out, they'll go back up for a long duration flight. Well, this one, Nicole Stott, went up there for a long duration flight on her first launch. So by the time she came back, before ever landing or wheels down or splashed down or anything, she had already logged more time in space than all of Mercury, all of Gemini, and most of Apollo. And I used to think all of Apollo until I figured out, well, we also had Skylab up there, plus the Apollo-Soyuz mission, which Vance Brand was a very important part of. It was the first docking an American and Soyuz/Russian craft up in space with interconnected systems, docking rings, and that kind of thing. So that was a first for him. Anyways, let's take you back down, and we'll run you through what we're going to see at Spacefest.